Let's start this one. All right. Hello, Facebook and Instagram. I am still trying to get the hang of the YouTube thing, so I've got two different cameras going on. I may, we'll see which video is better. There are so many different rules with the different apps. So for Facebook, there's no length for the live video, but for Instagram, to put it on IGTV, you have to be under 10 minutes. For YouTube, there's no limit, but a lot of times I have to speed myself up to be able to put the same video in two different places. So it's just an interesting situation. But I am back here today to do another variation of what I did last week, which YouTube, I'm going to turn you down so you can see this better. Let's see, that might be better. But here is my stencil. This says, "Autumn leaves and pumpkins, please." Do you ever have that ear thing happen where your ear, it's like partially popped, but it sounds funky? That's like going on in my ear right now. As soon as I went live, it needs to pop and it won't. It's like half there. So I'm not sure my YouTube video is going to work very well, but in order to keep this from having to be sped up too much, I'm going to go ahead and start. So last week I did a Hello Fall version, and it was done on a dark walnut, as I try to keep popping my ear, on a dark walnut stained background, and kind of winged it as far as adding the flowers. And I really liked how it turned out, and I was thinking about other little sayings that could go in, so I did this design, which, by the way, we design all of our stencils and cut them right here. But this is just sticky back vinyl, so that is now a stencil. I don't think I'm gonna be, oh, there comes the cat. The dog just chased the cat. So I'm gonna lay that down. I peeled the back off very carefully. I'm gonna center that as much as possible. It's literally a game of dog chases cat right now. Nothing like when you go live to have all that happen. Okay, so you press your stencil on, you peel the back off, you press the stencil down, and we did have some interest in the kits from the last one. We had some messages about possibly putting a kit together for this. So we are going to do that, and probably by the end of the day or tomorrow, we will have that kit up and ready. So you could actually purchase this background, the wooden background, and the stencil would pretty much be all that we would offer in this kit, because I don't have a ton of fall flowers right now to offer. So, and I wouldn't want to give you flowers, you know, like colors that you necessarily don't like or wouldn't want. You may not even want the flowers. So I'm actually going to stop the YouTube one because that's just not going to go. We're just going to have to go with this one.
Hello.
So, whoops. There we go. So I'm going to take, and I'm kind of winging it again, as my ear still hasn't popped. Weird stuff going on. I'm going to try something, I think. Well, that's not really the color I thought it was going to be, but it might work. So I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use red, but I might try something as I'm doing this. So I'm going to get a little bit of that out onto this backing that I pulled off of the vinyl. And I have some flowers ready to go, but it's pressed on there good. And you could do the Mod Podge trick, which is to dip your sponge in Mod Podge and paint, just like I'm about to paint with the red, up and down, all around. I don't like to paint like this. I don't like to smooth it this way, because especially with this kind of background where you have grooves, I don't want to press it in under the stencil and cause it to run. But I'm using, this is a Deco Art color called Dark Scarlet. Hey, Holly. And I like it. I did my background in a whitewash, creamy Creamy Brown Whitewash, which is one of our popular backgrounds. So I'm just gonna go around. I'm gonna see what I think of this. But like I said, I might try something. I might try blending in some orange. I'm not sure. But I'm definitely gonna add the flowers again. So we're gonna offer this as a kit. Once the kit is listed, I'll come back and post it in the comments and make sure that, you know, if you're watching on Instagram, that you have a way to get to the link. I'm gonna do this part the same. For time's sake, I never can seem to keep it under 10 minutes. Last time I was at like 12. And like I said, IGTV, they won't let you have to post it has to be under 10 minutes. So a lot of times I have to speed myself up, and then if I'm too sped up, I sound like a chipmunk talking. And then people are like, why do you sound so funny? Or I think something's wrong with your audio. I think something's wrong. That's why. Or you have to do like you have to have 3 different versions of the video, and then it takes 3 times the storage on your devices. So it's a tricky process, this whole thing, video making. Okay, I'm gonna go around here real quickly with one more layer as the cat meows and meows. Just make sure I have everything covered. So you want to do as many layers as you feel like have covered, so that you don't see these little dab marks, so that you don't see sponge marks. I mean, you might like that, so you could keep it that way, but I kind of go until it looks uniform and I don't really see any of those marks from me pressing down. That's how I kind of tell that it's even. I need a little bit more paint. I do like this color though. And what I thought I would try to do, oh, what the heck, we'll give it a shot. What I'm doing, actually I'm gonna switch to a new sponge. I'm gonna take a little bit of this orange, which I thought it was orange. It's more of a, oh, for heaven's sake, Cinny. He really wants his time in the sun. He's like, I want my 15 minutes of fame. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna do this. Not yet. I might give it a second. But because it really should be dry, I was gonna try to blend these colors a little bit, but being that the red is still so wet, it's probably just gonna make it end up looking pink. So maybe I should save that for another time. Okay. So here's what it looks like at this point. Beautiful, isn't it? Beautiful stencil covered in paint. And this one, luckily I did do it with there is a place to put a hook on the back, like where you could actually nail in a hook, a sawtooth hook, and sometimes I forget to look for that and I do mine upside down and then, oops. But I was lucky this time. So I'm gonna go ahead, since I'm trying to save time, I'm not gonna do the blending. I will pull this off. Since it's a light background, I figured I'd go with a darker paint color. And this is the tricky part when you're by yourself and you have all these letters. So there is a little bit of bleeding, which I can go back and touch up. But I could have avoided that with the Mod Podge technique first, but I can go back in and touch all that up. I'm gonna leave these insides here for the moment, and then I'm gonna go back and use this little pick to pick them back out. Even while this is wet, I think it's safe to go, since I'm going over this, it's really not gonna hurt anything. I kind of tried to lay these out ahead of time to get a sort of an idea of how I wanted to do it. Now the last time I did the flowers at the top and the bottom. This time, or did I? No, I think I did them on the side, didn't I? This time I was going to do it the opposite. So I guess I did do them on the sides. So maybe I have to rethink this. If I want to do it at the top and the bottom, I may not need quite as much. I still think I like it on the side though. I was just gonna do something different, but you could do the top and the bottom. I think I still like them on the sides. And I do need to grab some buttons out of my drawer. My hot glue gun ought to be dry by now. But if I sort of lay these how I was thinking, I was going with the oranges and the reds and some green leaves. You can get flowers at any craft store. You can get them at Michael's, Joann. A lot of times they have them in the scrapbooking section. And what I like to do with them, besides just single flowers, I like to layer them. So like this one is on top of this little one is on top of a bigger one here. And then I was putting these two together just to make it a little more three-dimensional. And let's see, I'll get another green leaf in here that's a little bit lighter green. And keep going sort of like so. Being careful not to smear. I mean, you would want to wait until your paint dries, but my live videos never have the luxury of waiting too long. In fact, I just got my red thumb. I just got paint. So what I'm gonna do is take the hot glue gun. I'm gonna wipe my fingers off first and glue them on. I'll do this side before I do the other side. And then I can come back and scrape off a little bit more of that if it's still showing. So you want to have them where you like it. For the most part, you can maneuver them a little bit as you put them on. I'm just trying not to smear the red too much as I do it. So let's start, I'll start with this layered look here and get some on there so that it's, I feel like it's Monday. It's Monday for me because our weekends are off a day. So yesterday was still considered, Saturday to Mondays are our weekends here because of my husband's work schedule. So I feel like it's Monday and I feel like I'm way behind. But I'm gonna do the layered ones, make sure that gets on there. Try not to burn yourself. And then I'll go underneath and get it stuck to the board. So the key is just to make sure that they're all overlapped. Like you don't want them all showing and spread apart so much that they all show. You just want like peaks of the leaves, a little peek of it coming out from behind. Everything's layered in and amongst itself. But I thought I would go with these colors. I went with more bright colors on the one I did on Friday. And when we do the kit, when we list the kits, if I have a video that goes with that kit, Darcy typically loads that video in too so that you can, you don't have to go search for it when you go to do your kit. Should be right there. She's good about that. Okay, so I like that. A little bit of neutral, a little bit of orange, a little bit of the burgundy on that side. And then I'll go back and get a button or two for there. Let me just get this side. Lift this side back up. Try to remember how I had it. More layering. More leaves. We'll do this one on the outside. Kind of symmetrical, but I don't want it to be, I personally don't like it to be perfectly symmetrical. Some people do. Me, I like it generally the same, but not exactly the same on both sides. And here we go. One of these, or we have several videos where I do the Mod Podge technique, and I really should go back and mention that it does make a lot of difference, especially on a whitewash background. Sometimes on the stained backgrounds too, though. If you paint over, just like I painted these letters on a minute ago, if you first take the sponge, dip it into a small amount of Mod Podge, and paint it on just like I did the lettering, all over the stencil, just as if it was paint. Give it 15-20 minutes to dry. You will have much, much crisper letters than if you just go straight to the painting like I did. Now, a lot of times when we have a workshop, we don't do that. We do a lot of whitewash backgrounds in workshops, but because we need the extra time, A lot of times we don't do it in a workshop, and we, you know, it's not necessary, but it just does make things a lot crisper. And in my case for today, it really would have made a difference. I try to sand these after the whitewash is done. I sand them really well, but just depending on the nature of the wood, sometimes they still run. Some people like that though. Okay, so I think I got them all. Before I lift it up, so that's the other side. One side's a little bit higher than the other. Let's see if I have one more. There's a little orange one. So maybe what I'll do over here is I'll just put one more orange just to try to balance your eye. I know, Cindy. You're just trying to say hi. Let people know you're there. Okay, so let me grab, I have a whole drawer of buttons. I think I want to do, where's my brown buttons? There. I have buttons, buttons, buttons galore. I was going to do a brown. I don't have really small ones. These are kind of big. Let's see. That one might work there. How about that? And that. And then what else do I have? Maybe if I do those. I could always later go back and see if I have any small ones in a different color. Even orange. You can use the same color as the flower. I have lots of orange buttons. Maybe I have a small one in here. I see some. There we go. So I'll just do orange on orange right here, just to finish off that flower. Just makes it a little extra dimensional. Finish it off a little bit. So that's pretty much what I did there, but now I need to take out these insides here. And then I'll show you what I do to touch up. It's kind of a pain, so it's up to you. To me, it's much more worth doing the Mod Podge if you have the time to keep it from bleeding. It's much more worth that than having to do what I'm about to do to touch everything up, because I got to go through everything to do that. There's a couple different ways you could touch up, but I'll show you mine. Get all these little insides out just with this little pick. And I'm sure I will be over my 10 and 15 minute limits. So I guess I'll be talking like a chipmunk when I speed the videos up to fit. I don't know how you can get much done in that time. I don't like rushing. There's a lot of little insides to this one. But the other one just simply said hello fall. So you would have your choice of this stencil or the other if you wanted to do this as a kit. And then you could get your background. And I'm not sure if we'll offer the background just plain or if we'll also give you the option of having the background done already. Possibly. So come on, little piece, come off. Okay, so sometimes what I don't know if you can tell, you can see where the bleeding, what I mean about the bleeding, is it's not super crisp around there. And that's because there's multiple layers. There's stain and paint, both. So one thing that you can do, and like I said, this is kind of a pain, is I kind of just gently go through with something sharp and scrape away. I work with the grain of the wood. I don't go against it. Like I don't go scraping up and down against the grain. So you could take the time to go through and kind of gently scrape away, very gently, just enough to make it look a little smoother on all those sections where it bled, which that's my preference. It does take a while, but I'm going to do that because I know that'll bother me. The other thing you could do is take a fine brush, just take a fine brush and actually brush over the edges with the same color and just smooth it out. It depends on how comfortable you are with, you know, a steady hand, how steady you feel like your hand is. But like my A is, I'm gonna just mainly get the parts that are the most obvious, but I just very gently brush it away. And I do it now because the paint really hasn't set much. It's not super wet, but it's not to the point where it's gonna be hard to get off. And red is a hard one to deal with, so I do like to do it while it's still in the drying process. But I kind of work towards the letter, but definitely with the grain. So I'll go back through and do all that. I don't press so hard that I gouge it, that I gouge the wood, just enough that I take that layer, just that little layer off. And then it typically ends up looking much, much better. Oops, I forgot this little guy. The other thing that you'll see if you're using hot glue, if you've used hot glue ever before, you know that it has all these little strings that dry on. So you just have to go through and kind of pull those strings away and neaten it up a little bit. And then I'll add a hook on the back if I decide I want to hang it. And that's it. That's a much different version of the one that I did on Friday. Just a much different fall look with different coloring. And that's all. I just wanted to show you that. And we'll come back and we'll put the links if you're interested in the kits. We'll put them in this one and the one that I did last week so that you can go directly to that. Or we'll give you a way to find the link if you're on Instagram. So thank you for watching. Have a great, I'm going to say Monday, but it's Tuesday. Have a great Tuesday afternoon. Thank you. See ya.